So today I wanted to briefly take a look at this forgotten King Kong film from 1996, which I don't see anyone online talking about. And yes, it did actually get a cinematic release. Now, most people, when they talk about King Kong in 1996, they like to refer back to the Peter Jackson King Kong, the early days of his movie, where he was looking to get it made in the mid 90s before Universal, dropped it, and then he moved on to Lord of the Rings. But not many people actually know that there was an actual King Kong film made and released in Imax cinemas in 1996. It was a 3-minute long short film which depicted the climax of the classic Kong story. He's climbing up a tower, a fictional tower in San Francisco, and these biplanes come in and shoot him and he falls off the building. It was actually a part of a longer documentary called Special Effects Anything Can Happen. This was a 40-minute long documentary which took people into the behind the scenes of special effects in movies at the time. Most notably, it looked at Independence Day, Jumanji, and even Shaquille O'Neal on a bike. But I actually don't know what that's from because I haven't been able to watch this documentary. The only version of it that's online is a sort of cam recording from inside a cinema in France.
Spéciaux de King Kong, de la guerre des étoiles, d'Independence Day ou encore de Jumanji.
I've never been able to watch the full documentary. It's on VHS, but it's very hard to come by, so I haven't been able to get a copy of it myself. And the only actual notable thing from the documentary that is online is this behind-the-scenes video called Kong Rules, as it says right there, which looks at the making of the actual Kong portion of this documentary, which is the main thing going on in this documentary, because they show you how they do stop motion, how they do optical fire effects, how they go onto the set and corral 100 extras and add smoke and fog and stuff like that into these miniature sets. So there's a separate documentary to that documentary all about the making of the Kong section, which is online, but the actual full documentary itself, I've not been able to watch it myself yet, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what the Shaquille O'Neal section is. But mainly I wanted to talk about the actual Kong section, but just briefly I will mention that this Special Effects Anything Can Happen, it's got such an awesome poster, which has like the Independence Day ship at the top, King Kong obviously, it's got like the X-Wings, it's got the Jumanji animals climbing all over the car, Shaquille O'Neal on his bike there right next to a TIE fighter, all against this sort of chrome text in space. It is like the most 90s looking poster that I can think of. It just really reminds me of like the Terminator should be on this somewhere, or even the T-Rex from Jurassic Park and the DeLorean or something like that. I know, well, there's Back to the Future is the 80s, but whatever. Actually, the artwork on this actually looks like artwork you would see spray painted on the side of like an 18-wheeler semi-truck. That kind of thing. But anyway, I'm really digressing here. Let's talk about the Kong short. What I really like about this short film is just seeing Kong in stop motion again, but done in sort of like the mid-90s. So the technology behind stop motion has progressed. So this version of Kong, even though it's in like the worst quality ever online, and I haven't been able to watch it in HD at all, but you can still see how cool the effect is and how much it's progressed from the traditional 1933 film. He's actually got some weight to him, as they mentioned in the documentary. And with Ben Burt, the sound designer, doing his roars, he just sounds so cool. He sounds like how I would imagine King Kong would sound if he existed in like the Jurassic Park universe or something like that. But yes, as you can see here, David Allen, this man here, is the guy who brought Kong to life. He's the man who built the armature, and he brought Kong to life by taking designs from the original film. And he even mentions in this documentary how he sort of wanted to blend Kong with Son of Kong by giving him the sort of Son of Kong's colours, but the classic Kong sort of look in the face, which I really appreciate. And as you can see there from the armature, which is playing on screen right now, they've sort of like modernized his sort of body shape, his muscular arms and all that sort of stuff. They've upgraded him for the era, but while retaining the classic look in his face. So to see Kong in this kind of era done this way is really cool, especially mid-90s where CGI was blowing up at this point. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why this documentary, or sorry, the special effects Anything Can Happen documentary was made, because there's an extensive section all about the CGI behind Jumanji and how they did the miniature effects in that film, and Independence Day as well. So obviously Jurassic Park is notably absent from this documentary, but the advances in CGI definitely get a look in. But back to the Kong short, I also really like the music in this short film. Is really epic and awesome, and I don't know who did the music, so I'll put their name on screen for you now if I find it. They did a wonderful job of creating this sense of epicness. In 3 minutes they get your blood pumping, and Kong's up on there in the building, and there's fire, and you know, the people screaming, and there's all these like army people telling people where to go and all that sort of stuff, and spotlights going everywhere, and it's just so well done. It's exactly like you've just stepped into the last act of a 90s King Kong film, with one thing that in my opinion throws it all off in a way, which is the use of biplanes. If this is meant to be set in 1996, I feel like they could have used helicopters, kind of like how the 70s King Kong utilized helicopters to take down Kong. But in this one they use biplanes, which obviously is a harken back to the original film, but in 1996 era it's really jarring to kind of see them in a modern setting going around shooting Kong. But it was cool. It was cool. I'm not saying it's, you know, not cool. It is cool to see that again. But yeah, in 1996 you'd want to use like Apache helicopters or something, like, you know, fast moving helicopters, or something like a Airwolf, you know, that old show Airwolf, that kind of helicopter. You want that zipping through the buildings, and you know, like black fast stealth helicopters coming out of the darkness to take Kong down. That would have been cool. But they use biplanes. I think they actually did film real biplanes, you know, for the movie, so that's really cool. In the documentary that's playing on here, they show Ben Burtt going out and shooting planes and aerial footage, and you know, fire trucks going across the Golden Gate Bridge and all that sort of stuff. So they did put a lot of money into this section of the documentary, and they even got like Anthony Daniels to play C-3PO at one point in the documentary. So I don't know what the budget of this documentary was, but the King Kong section, like I mentioned a minute ago, does just feel like you've stepped into the final act of, you know, a Kong movie, and they're utilizing all the classic effects, stop motion, miniatures, optical effects, no CGI as far as I can tell, but you really wouldn't know. It's so good. It's really, really good and worth checking out. So what I'll actually do is I will post the short film, just clip the Kong short film out, and I'll post it to my channel after this video. So if you want to check that out, you can see it for yourselves. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think of this short film, and let me know what you think is your favourite King Kong of all time. Because I feel like this Kong, this little stop motion Kong from this Imax documentary, is always left out. I feel like you get, you know, the classic 1933 one, you get the 70s one, you get the Peter Jackson's King Kong, you got the Kong from the Monsterverse, but no one ever talks about the Ben Burtt Kong from the Imax movie. That needs more love, I feel like, because it is such a classic look, because it is an upgrade from the original 1933 Kong, and happens to be one of my favourite Kongs out there. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, a comment and subscribe if you want. Hit that notification bell, climb to the top of a tower, get shot down by planes, and be remembered as a king of an island off in the sea somewhere. And I should stop drinking coffee and find a way off this ice planet. That's what I should do. That's what I should do. 18-wheeler semi-truck.